baby, it's cold outside.
And I've got some great shows that you should binge watch with me.
That is not what I meant by Netflix and chill.
Okay, so guys, I know you've been on me about watching Stranger Things for forever. I finally sat down to watch it, and I freaking binge-watched the entire thing. And it is excellent.
Yes, it is.
So I want to talk about binge-watching shows, or shows we think others should binge-watch.
Okay.
So, I mean, do you mean obvious stuff like Firefly or
Buffy?
So yeah, there's obvious shows that I binge-watch. Like, when my go-to binges is, of course, Star Trek: The Next Generation. But I'd like to talk about some of the shows that maybe might not be on everybody's binge watch. Like, Stranger Things is a very, very obvious thing for most people.
Netflix has made it easier and so much lazier to binge watch things, right? Well, not only because you can just choose a series and then, go through the entire series without having to switch disc out. But because now they introduced the watch next episode. Next episode will start in 15 seconds. And you're like,
what am I supposed to do? Might as well just watch it.
The remote's all the way over there. It's 12 o'clock.
To the point where you get offended at Netflix. Are you still watching? Fuck yes!
Yes,
I am.
So we're talking about those shows.
We are talking
all right,
about those
let's do it then.
I'll start. So let me get the obvious things out first. You should be watching The Americans, especially in this Russian influence game. We live. Okay. You should also be watching The Crown. Crown is fantastic. You should also be watching The Get Down. I enjoyed The Get Down. Did you like The Get Down?
Well, you shouldn't because it's canceled. So
it
was okay.
Okay, fine. Other things you should totally watch: Dragon Ball Super, and One Piece. You can always pick up. There's hundreds of episodes of One Piece. Okay, I think that's all my obvious ones. Oh, yeah, that's all my obvious ones.
All right, well, I'm gonna jump in here with something non-obvious.
Wait.
No?
The Great British Baking Show.
So the one show that I wanted to talk about that I've really enjoyed is The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Okay,
What?
what is that?
I'm sorry, what? Could you beg your pardon?
I've never heard of that.
It's The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's on Amazon Prime. It is by the same people that did Gilmore Girls. So if you like Gilmore Girls, this is a show for you. It's about a woman in the late 50s doing stand-up.
That's the end of my show, folks. Tune in next week when my grandmother steals my pearls and fucks my boyfriend.
It's situational. There's a lot of Jewish comedy in it. It's hilarious. It is surprising in every episode. It's a little bit cringy in spots where you're like, oh, because you see the train wreck coming, but then it twists a little bit and it turns out great. I've really enjoyed the season. They've already ordered, I think, 2 more seasons.
Wow.
So it'll be around for a goodly long while. That's my recommendation.
And this is on Amazon Prime?
This is on Amazon Prime.
So there are obvious choices, like on HBO now, you can watch Rome or 6 Feet Under, which are phenomenal shows. But if you have HBO now or HBO Go, I'm not going to talk about Game of Thrones because that's the obvious choice too. The one show that I highly recommend to people that you should binge watch, because I did when I was sick. That is one good thing about being sick as an adult. You get to stay home and binge watch these things. Is The Wire. It's
The Wire.
The best David Simon show ever. It's kind of a spin-off of Homicide: Life on the Streets. And it's, I guess, part of the whole Tommyverse. You guys know what that is? Okay. So
No, I don't know what Tommyverse is.
Okay, so damn, that's another episode. Google. It's a little dated because it starts off in the late 90s, but it's in Baltimore, and they go undercover to stop this drug dealers from bringing in drugs. But it's amazing because season 1 is about this little just hood, the ghetto, where it takes place in the projects, and they're just tapping the wires of the telephones. So it shows how dated it is because they're still using public telephones. And season 2 expands that as to the guys, the Russians that are bringing in the drugs. Season 3 is about the corrupt system, the political system that lets these things happen. Season 4 is how it kind of all begins with the school systems and things like that. By the time you get to season 5, it's just this huge, gigantic overall arc. And season 5 had its moments, but it's a show that it's so binge-worthy because you can just sit there and watch the next episode. Because every episode ends with what's going to happen next. If you haven't seen it, It is one of my top 3 favorite shows of all time.
I absolutely agree.
It is brilliantly written, brilliantly acted, and I just love all the characters. And there's a motherfucker named Omar on there, who is amazing. I have a shirt that says, "You take a shot at the king, you best not miss." Omar. Omar coming is one of my favorite quotes ever.
Omar coming, yo. Omar coming, yo.
Okay, I'm going to talk about something that's a little short and sweet, and literally sweet, because it's a show called Kintaro, the Sweet Tooth Salaryman. So you guys all laugh at me, but no, I promise you, just sit down, watch one episode really
What's
fast.
this available on?
This is available on Netflix, so it's a Netflix original streaming.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's original for Netflix only, and it's a Japanese sort of based show. It's of course Kintaro, but it's based in Japan, and what it is this guy used to work as, I think, an engineer, but he has a problematic sweet tooth, so he craves sweets daily. And with his engineering job, he could only eat sweets on the weekends. So he decides he's going to move jobs so he can eat sweets whenever he wants to. So he joins a publishing company so that he can go to sales or go make sales while he's walking around Japan, and he can go and stop at sweet shops and eat all the sweets that he wants. And so each show... You look at me like I'm crazy.
I do that a lot,
This
though.
is amazing. It's hilarious. It's very, very sort of Japanese humor, but it's amazing. I suggest you highly watch this.
Wait. Do you suggest we highly watch it? Because I think that might be what you're getting at.
I suggest you watch this. Okay.
And be high.
Highly. Not necessarily be high. This is not a
Shit,
SpongeBob.
I'll enjoy any fucking show.
But it's another one of those shows that showcases Japan, and it showcases a regional treat, so a regional Japanese sweet. Some of it seems like, oh, I'm not sure if I would eat that, but it gets you sort of interested in a different food, a different culture, and some of them I'm like, I really want to try that. I really want to eat that. It's like another cooking show, but it's just him enjoying the sweets. And, There's also hilarious little tidbits because his head turns into these like beans or snacks.
Is this animated?
Yeah,
No, it is not animated.
Is this
It
a
is
documentary?
It was an anime. Oh.
No, it is not.
Documentary.
That's why I say you guys need to watch it. It's a live action. It's superbly done, and it's short and sweet.
But surely at this point, we all know how great Sherlock is, the modern take with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin, what's his name? Freeman, thank you.
Lawrence!
So, yeah, I wasn't going to talk about that, and I don't think there's a need.
That's a different show.
So instead, I'm going to talk about Peaky Blinders. Peaky Blinders.
I've heard about this, but I don't know what it is. What's it about?
Okay, so it's set in like 1919, and it's about these gangsters, Tommy Shelby and his family and their interactions and how they deal with like gambling and booze and just life living in like that era in England. And it's kind of gritty, it's kind of violent, but it's fantastic. Well written, good characters, lots of twists that you wouldn't expect. And I think there's about 4 seasons of this stuff. A new season came out very recently. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. But at my house, my wife doesn't typically like to go to sleep. Like if this is the last thing we're watching, she doesn't want to watch something that's kind of violent, kind of gory. That's like I would suggest
that's like my wife. She doesn't want to end the note. She wants to end on something nice.
So something like a little bit sillier. So that's another reason I didn't necessarily talk about like the Marvel stuff, because as good as like the Punisher or what have you is, it's pretty violent. So the other thing that I would like to talk about is Master of None. Do you know what that is? Mm-hmm. So it's Aziz Ansari, who was in Parks and
Rec.
Parks and Rec. And it's just him just living life in like New York and just talking and hanging out with people and various characters that he talks and interacts with, and his girlfriend.
It's wonderful.
It's funny, but some of the things that he deals with, like there's a Thanksgiving episode where it talks about his friend who is a lesbian black woman, and like Thanksgiving with this woman is hilarious because it's exactly like Thanksgiving, like at my house. The things that they would say there are things they would have said at my house for Thanksgiving. Like, it's hilarious, but it also has a lot of meaning and depth behind it. So something a little bit more lighthearted, and there's actually a really good story that's tugging at it too. So after you've watched Peaky Blinders, then I suggest going and finishing off with Master of None.
Nice.
All right. Well, I want to follow up on that with lighthearted fare, and follow up on mine with also something that you look at and say, because if you haven't watched The Good Place, now's the time to do it.
Somebody royally forked up. Why can't I say fork?
If you're trying to curse, you can't hear.
That's
Bullshit.
Because the clock's ticking. And the clock is ticking just in the sense of...
Where can I watch The Good Place?
You can watch The Good Place. Season 1 is on Netflix. Season 2, which we're about halfway through right now, I think is all on Hulu. Or you can stream it on, like, CBS or whatever network it's on. NBC, I'm told, off camera.
So why is the clock ticking?
The clock is ticking. Just take my word for it. Because you have to watch the show to understand why it's important. It's a beautiful show. Kristen Bell, Ted Danson.
You had me at Ted Danson.
Yeah. Oh, and he
Kristen Bell, dude.
He is wonderful at it. It's basically a show about these people in the afterlife.
Okay.
And it's wacky and silly, but it's also really, really well written, really entertaining, and it surprises you at every turn. Hence part of why the clock is ticking. Because if you get spoiled on it, I'm not sure how good season 1 will be to watch if you know what's coming.
Okay.
Well, being this is the first I've heard of it, I guess I've been staying away from.
Yeah,
we've been pretty.
And I will say the problem with the advertising for it is they're trying not to spoil it too. So the advertising
it doesn't give you
sucks,
much of. Okay.
Which is like I stumbled onto it and I was like, oh shit, this is really good. So it's a show you've got to try out.
Okay, one more time. What is it called?
The Good Place.
The Good Place.
Good Place. All right, I'll mark that on mine.
Okay, so I was going to mention Black Mirror, but I figured by now everybody's seen Black Mirror.
And if you haven't, please.
But I'm going to go back to the original. I'm going to go back to an anthology of short stories that were wonderful, and I'm going to go with the Twilight Zone.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination.
And this is available on Netflix. And a tradition in my house here is, because of Sci-Fi Channel, that started this years ago, is to watch nothing but Twilight Zone on New Year's Day. My whole family, my kids, my wife,
It's
even
like
though
us
it's in
watching
black and
Mystery
white.
Science Theater on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, everybody has traditions, right?
Christmas Story.
Love the
Vacation.
Twilight Zone. I can't speak enough about how amazing this series is, how ahead of its time, and how it hasn't really been outdated. Like, a lot of groundbreaking things happen within the series. A lot of, like, you know, sadly, a lot of these stories have been spoiled because it's just become a part of our pop culture. So everything references Family Guy, The Simpsons, Rick and Morty. A lot of the twists in this have now been, you know, kind of ruined for you because of the shows that we have nowadays. But if you get a chance, every single episode of the original Twilight Zone is available on Netflix. Season 1 has a lot of wonderful episodes. If you just leave them on, and they're less than 30 minutes long each, and it's not until season 4 where they become about 45 to an hour long each. Just leave them on, man. Just watch them in the background. They are phenomenal, and they're still
the original twists.
Well, yeah, they still that test of time. Like, they're amazing. I love the Twilight Zone. And I know, like, you guys are mentioning new shows. Like, I've never heard of these shows that you all are talking about. And I'm like,
that's why we're here.
Going back with the Twilight Zone because it's so old school. It's so good.
There's nothing wrong with that, though.
Check it out. There's 80s Twilight Zone out there, too, which is top-notch because Ray Bradbury wrote those. I don't recommend the 90s Twilight Zone because they're okay. But
just okay.
These are amazing. I heard they're bringing it back, and I heard Peele's, the guy that did Get Out, is one of the producers. Yeah.
Really?
I'm down with that because when I saw Get Out, that's what it reminded me of.
Awesome.
So I'm going to keep it creepy and go with a show that's now on Amazon Prime. It's called Lore. So it started out as a podcast by Aaron Mahnke. It's another one of those things that they have a theme and they tell you, or he tells you, these creepy little stories. And some of them may be kind of quasi-true. Some of them are superstitious or sort of like the creepypasta you would hear. One of my favorite stories that he's gone over is concerning like why we're so afraid of having the dead buried and still be alive. So he kind of gives you this creepy Halloween-y feel that's not too like...
This guy have a YouTube channel before?
I don't know if he had a
Because it sounds like a channel that I've watched where he talks about things like this. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, and if you haven't listened to the podcast and the Amazon Prime are basically the same thing. It's just another visual adding to it. And they do different snippets where some of it's sort of like animated, some of it's a little bit more live action. It's got a nice twist and a nice feel, and they're really, really short. So you can just go one after another and kind of get your nice creepy vibe on.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, you guys have given me a lot of shows to catch up on. But yeah, I recommend The Twilight Zone and The Wire.
Thanks, Omar.
Thanks. Those are some of the shows that we suggest for binge watching. Do you have suggestions for us? Please comment down below, like, subscribe, and don't forget to read our show notes. Thanks. Omar?
Hey. I'm Omar. I really don't know where this episode's going.
This is not
Because I was prepared for Twilight Zone. You guys are like the mighty misadventures of Mrs. Mapletown. And she's like, I want to tell you about Korean boy Sweet Tooth. What the fuck? I wasn't ready for that.
Just do it.
All right.
Sorry.